It's Friday, August 23rd, 2024. You're watching Co-op for Two. My name is Jesse Reichler. Today we're going to let the audience pick what game to play here. I thought we would play maybe a shorter small box game. I'll talk a little bit about these, what our history with these games are, but let's do a little bookkeeping first. We were originally going to play the third and final mission from War Story, which is behind me right there today. But we played mission 2 yesterday, last night, and we played for about 6 hours, and it was like high stress level the whole time. It was a pretty amazing experience. But I feel like we should take a couple days to let it set in and recuperate from that. So I've scheduled the third and final mission of War Story for this coming Thursday at 10 p.m. I hope those of you who joined me for mission 2 will be able to join me for mission 3. All right, anything else we need to talk about? On Sunday, we'll be reading the second letter from Dear Holmes. That's the Celtic Curse. Whoops, right behind me there. If you haven't joined us for the first letter, those Dear Holmes sessions on Sunday afternoons are only about an hour long. You still got time to go watch letter number 1 so you can catch up for Sunday's live stream. All right, so let's talk about what to play today. Now, what I've done is I've gotten out some of the small box games. Oops, I've got our little green overlay. Okay, I've gotten out some of the small box games, and I thought maybe we could play one of these. Now, we've played the Detective series, and Oh, we're pretty impressed by it. We played a Sherlock Holmes one. This is one of the 2 games that have this gimmick of you're building this 3-dimensional scene, which I don't love. But we have played this, and I'm sort of interested in playing the small box games that I haven't played yet. So I guess if I had a choice, I'm more interested in playing one of these 2 series because I've not played a Deckscape game. I don't think I've played a game from Deckscape, and I know I haven't played a game from the Undo series. And someone posted a comment on one of the playthroughs recently, maybe of the Detective, saying it reminded them of Undo. So I'm sort of curious to see what the Undo series is like. The other thing, though, that's odd about this is all of the Undo games, there's some gimmick involved about changing fate. We've got a little Cthulhu one and a little Expedition one. They both say they're from 2 to 6 players, but from what I can see online on Board Game Geek, that's not really accurate, and there are no special 2-player rules. Which is odd because Detective says it's from 1 to 6. It is playable solo, but feels like it does have a mechanic that really wants more than 1 player. So I am curious to see if I've been lied to by Board Game Geek, or if there's some weird reason they're listing this at 2 to 6. However, if we do want to play a small box game, another option is to play an Echoes game. This is a game co-designed by Dave Neal, who did War Stories. I've played a couple of these on the channel. They're quite fun and amusing, but they're heavily app-based. You basically scan cards to listen to some audio, and you're trying to sequence the pieces of the mystery to make sense out of the case. So that's another option. Then there's Cartaventura. We've played one Cartaventura on the channel, and I really liked it. That's Cartaventura Lhasa. And it came to mind when I did our playthrough and review of Washed Ashore, because it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure where you decide where to go with a little bit of resource management. You can see here, it says adventure, historical. Oh, hard to read all the exploration complexity. Okay, and then there is the well-known Unlocked series. There's a lot of these Unlocked games. They come in these small single box versions or boxes with 3 cases in them. Now, I have played an Unlocked before, but it's been so long that I've forgotten most of it. Looks like these go in difficulty from 1 to 3. So I guess if it was up to me, I would be interested most in trying one of these 2 series that I've never tried before. But I'm happy to rule out any game that people here in the channel have already played. And if the group really wants to play something different, we could play something different. I think I'd prefer to play something small and puzzly today. But if there's a strong argument in the channel to play one of the games behind me, we could play a longer, more serious puzzle game like Under the Deep or A Wealth of Murder, which is a hunt-a-killer game. But let's see what the chat feels like. And Tina says, Undo is better for more people, I think. The Spamonite says, can we see the back of the boxes? Jonathan Warner says, do you think Undo would work better for the stream than Antina, or would it actually work worse since Jesse's the only physical person there? Joseph Mayu says, I love how Jesse refers to Neal as the War Stories guy instead of the Baker Street Irregulars guy now. Well, Dave Neal has done a whole bunch of stuff. Dave Neal has gotten more praise on this channel than any other designer. So, and Tia says, it's nothing to do with physical, it's just cards that you decide to choose, no puzzles. Interesting. Kurt says the unlocks are solid. If we do one, I hope it's the hardest. I'd enjoy any of the options, though, except the app-based audio thing. All right. Shall we have a vote then? And Tina says, I played a couple of the undos. They weren't my favorite. Playing with all of you might be different. The hardest unlock. Okay, so if we played the hardest unlock, it would be this one. The Tanapal's Treasure. What about Deckscape? Has anyone played a Deckscape and have an opinion? They are escape room puzzle games. Are they rated for difficulty? Let's take a look at these Deckscape. No one has talked about the Deckscape. Let's see what we've got here. Pocket Escape Room, playable solo. We've got one in an Egyptian pyramid. Doesn't look like difficulty level. We've got one set in Tokyo. This one says about 1 hour. This one says 87 to 112 minutes. Looks like this one might be a little harder, although this says 60 minutes down here. And then El Dorado is, again, no difficulty. They're all basically the same. And Tina says, I've played them. They're okay. You played all of these Deckscapes, and Tina? Well, if you've played all of these, then we can get rid of them. Sounds like the group really wants to play an unlock. I mean, I'm not against playing an unlock game. Oh, and Tina says, I've only played the El Dorado one. All right, well, we're going to get rid of the El Dorado. We're going to get rid of the Echoes. I think we'll get rid of the Cartaventura, since that's more of a choose-your-own-adventure. I think puzzle is right for us today. I'm going to get rid of the Detective, since we've played that recently. Are the undos rated for difficulty? I don't think they are. Let's take a look. You are Weavers of Fate. This is the gimmick of the Undo series, which I've never played. It says you can pause time, jump to specific moments in a deceased person's life to reweave their threads of fate. Will you be able to change the events and undo their tragic death? 25 large cards, 63 small, 25 large, 70 small. One is H.P. Lovecraft theme, and one is this expedition theme. They don't seem to be rated for difficulty. DJ Moneycut says, I've played the unlock pirate one. So DJ Moneycut has played the hardest unlock one. And Tina says Deckscape is better than Undo. Well, don't forget, we might just play one of these, not because we expect it to be good, but because we're curious about what it's like. But you don't think this is puzzle-based? Speculate, discuss, decide. All right, I'll tell you what I think we should do. I think we should play this H.P. Lovecraft Undo. And I'll tell you why. And Tina already put out a request for some other long, serious puzzle games. So we're going to play some of those new. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm very curious what this Undo system is about. I'm curious to try it. It sounds like it'll be short. I'm curious if you can play it with more than two. All right, so this is what I'd like to play. I guess I did promise audience choice. All right, let me bring these back. We'll have an official vote. But I've giving you what I think we should do. All right, you can vote on whatever game you think we should play. But we're not going to play the ones that have already been played by someone who wants to join us. So we're not going to play the Pirate Unlock. And we're not going to play the El Dorado Dexgate, because that's been played already by someone. And I am curious to try the Undo, just to try it. It sounds like there's no interest in the Echoes one. All right, Mutiny. Dexgate, Lovecraft, Undo. Let me, while you're deciding and thinking about Mutiny, I have found in life one of the most important lessons is to choose your battles. So you may want to think before you start a mutiny if this is the hill you want to die on, choosing between these games. Or maybe you want to wait till there's a big, long 6-session game. And Tina says, just don't get frustrated. All right, we're going to play the Lovecraft Undo. That's the decision that's been made here, which is good. We're just going to have a relaxed time and see what this new system is like. And maybe it's not even going to work for just one of us. And Tina said, how did Jesse change your mind? They're choosing their battle. Why die on this hill? Wait, save your mutiny for some time when you can do something, when you've got some important choice to make. These are all an hour. Surely it's not going to make too much of a difference what we play. Okay, speculate, discuss, decide. Very curious about this. All right. Forbidden knowledge is the case. They're all pretty much the same, says Kurt. Okay. Do you want to have the best possible gaming experience ever? Sure. Take your time, immerse yourself in an unusual story. Don't jump to quick conclusions. Develop different theories of what might have happened. Look for evidence on the revealed cards. Can we put this here? Let me see something. Okay. Stay flexible. Be prepared to reject your own theories. Newly revealed cards will sometimes reveal contradictory information. Work together, discuss, and make your final decisions. Only then will you be able to successfully weave fate anew. Okay. Sounds reasonable. You can see there's a big series here. All right. So we've got a box that does not need to be this large, with large cards and small cards. Nothing underneath, although one should not get into the habit of doing that. Okay. To stop, this is the bottom of this stack. Turn it over. Stop. These cards are pre-sorted. Don't shuffle this deck or the deck of smaller cards. Turn the cards over only when prompted to do so. Okay. You don't need to read this manual before playing. If you want to begin play, turn this card over and continue reading. What manual? There is no manual. This opens up. It doesn't. Okay. So there's no manual, but there may be some extra cards that teach you how to play. All right. This would be a good stream to talk about other stuff. If anyone has any interesting projects they're working on. Any interesting new food or drink? Any interesting movies? Did we talk about... I saw 2 movies recently. I saw Trap and a bad movie before that, Cuckoo. I thought Trap was quite good. It had some very stupid... There was a very, very stupid middle part that I really disliked. But it was a very watchable movie. It was almost Hitchcockian in its structure, which I really appreciated. But I would absolutely recommend Trap. I don't think it's getting... I think the reviews are overly negative for it. I thought it was actually very good. All right, so this game's going to teach us how to play. The Spamonite said, did not see Cuckoo, but Trap was good. Okay. All right, here we go. The tragic loss of a beloved person leaves nothing behind but grief and devastation. You are weavers of fate. As a team, you can pause time and jump to specific moments in a deceased person's life to reweave their threads of fate and thereby undo their tragic death. You can only alter brief moments of their life, and hopefully your selective influence will be enough to change the deceased's actions to direct them along a better path. The next mission you must solve together leads you into the mythical world of H.P. Lovecraft, more precisely to Arkham, Massachusetts in the 1920s. This game is made up of large and small cards. Continue reading on the next card for an overview of the cards and how they are arranged. The Spamonite says Trap was good. Jonathan says, I saw Cuckoo. I did like that it wasn't overly underlit, which I sort of feel many modern horror movies are. I enjoyed the beginning, but lost me a bit by the end. Yeah, I think that matches sort of my thoughts too. There were some good parts about it. The acting was all good. There were just parts of it that didn't quite... It didn't work as a... It's hard to describe. There were some cool parts about it, but it didn't work as a whole. This is why I'm not a good movie reviewer. I can't express why I don't like movies. The large cards consist of 5 rule cards. That's what we're reading now, I guess, R2. 13 story cards, numbers written in the upper left. This is the story of the tragic death the team must change. Then 4 solution cards, numbers S1 through S7. I'm not sure how you get 4 out of that, but maybe there's some gaps. These provide the story's resolution and whether or not you're able to change the deceased's fate for the better. The small cards consist of 9 time cards, 4 investigation cards, 36 fate cards, 13 clue cards. I'm intrigued by this. Create a display in the center of the playing area with the large cards as follows. Place the next 3 rules cards face up in a row. Okay. Then take the next 13 cards, which are the story cards, which have a little H.P. Lovecraft art on them. Lay them out in ascending order, face up without looking at their back. You shorten space 2 rows. Leave enough space around each card so you can place a small card above and below it. Okay. Next 3 rules cards in a row. Okay, I'll put those over here. Then we take the 13 cards, we lay them out. We can put cards above and below. Okay. The remaining large cards, which are the solution cards, in a stack at the end of the display without looking at them. Okay, I'm just going to put them off so we're not tempted to read them. They're out of camera view. The top card should read end of story. You'll need these at the end of the game. Turn over story card 12 with the shining lantern. You can see here. To begin the story and learn more about the circumstances of death. Read story card 12. Now, what about the rules cards? I mean, I've got rule cards that are telling me about the small stack. After reading the story cards, feels like they're supposed to read the rule cards. But all right, we'll follow this instructions as if this was correct. Read story card 12 now. Circumstances of death. A cemetery in a swamp, July 30, 1923, 2:47 a.m. I like the art here. You have to put the small cards under the big cards. Did it want me to do that or just room for it? Let's see. Lay out enough space you can place the small cards. Okay, it's not telling me to do the small cards. The instructions about the small cards are all on these other rule cards. But turn over card 12. Okay, so this card says turn over card 12. This seems like this is like the abbreviated instructions. I don't know, that's very odd. Okay, so it seems to me like we can follow these instructions instead. Because you'll see here it's telling us to turn over this card, which is what this card did. Weird. Okay. Take the stack of small cards, form 2 separate stacks in the display. Put the 9 time cards in the first stack. Okay. Let's put these here for now. The 4 investigation cards in the second stack. Okay. 36 cards. Story cards. Oh, sorry. 4 investigation cards. Now place the deck of 36 small fate cards above story card 12 without looking at them. You figure those are these? Above card 12 without looking at them. The remaining 13. Okay, the remaining 13 small clue cards below the 13 story cards. Somewhere like this. Oh, I see. It wants them to match. Okay, so 1 below this, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 13. Okay. $36 small above story card 12. Okay. And the remaining small below the 13 story cards. Making sure they match. Now it tells me to read this. However, feels like we're supposed to ignore that and read the rules. You'll play as a team with each player taking a turn in clockwise order. The active player makes the final decision. If the team can't decide, this applies to the next destination for your time travel, the change you want to make to the current event, and whether or not you want to use investigation cards. The game comes to life as the team constructs theories about what has happened, discusses how to prevent the tragic death, decide which player will begin, discuss which time the team wants to travel to. In other words, which story card. You must discard 1 time card To travel back to the box for each instance of time travel, discard the first time card for your first time travel now. Then turn the chosen story card. All right, I guess it wants us to read the story first. It always shocks me when these small games that seem like the instructions are just should be the simplest thing are not. So look, here's R1. It says keep going. Okay. And then here's R2. And R2 tells us to grab the rest of the rules, but don't do anything with them. And then it says read story cards. So presumably we're not supposed to do the rest of the rules now. So presumably we're supposed to break from that and read this. But then I went to the rules anyway, since they seemed important for setting up. But maybe I got that wrong. Let's read the story. Let's read about the death. Circumstances of death, a cemetery in the swamp. All right, I love the art here. July 30, 1923, 2:47 a.m. A man in his 20s is standing next to an open crypt, a horrified expression on his face. The meager light of his lantern reveals a set of stairs leading into the depths of a dark and foul-smelling crypt. Next to him are a backpack, a spade, a portable telephone whose wire leads down the stairs into the darkness. "Get out! Push back the grave slab and run!" cries a panicked voice through the receiver. "I can't leave you, Harley," he answers in a trembling voice. His gaze shifts to the heavy grave slab they've pushed aside. "Harley, can you hear me?" He screams. A crackling noise over the receiver makes him pause. Then a hollow, gelatinous, disembodied voice echoes through the receiver. "You fool! Harley is dead." The man begins laughing hysterically. To protect his sanity, his heart stops and he drops down dead. Continue reading on page R4 of the rule cards. Okay, so it did walk us through it. It's interweaving the rules with the story. All right, so it looks like that we're going to have a little bit of supernatural in this case. All right, so now we move on to the rule cards, which has us set up, which we've already done. Okay, it says now turn over clue card 12 with the shining lantern and read the clue for story 12. So the clue card are the small cards beneath. Okay, so we read story 12. Now we're going to read clue card 12. Turn over clue card 12 with the shining lantern. I guess it just means the one under the shining lantern. Read the clue card for story 12. The long wire is attached to a cable drum, and more than 50 meters have already been unrolled. The connection is irregularly interrupted by a crackling noise. Continue reading on card R5. So we read this story, and then we got this little clue card associated with this. So there's a guy above a grave and crypt. Backpack, spade, portable telephone, a wire goes down the stairs into the darkness. And here we're told a little bit more about that wire going down into the darkness. Okay, now it says go and read rule 5. All right, so it's walking us through the rules. Here's R5. Oh, this is the part you'll play as a team. We'll decide what to go. You must discard one time card every time we want to go somewhere. So we're reconstructing the timeline, going where we want. Okay, it says discard the first time card for your first time travel now. Okay, so I'm going to take one of these time cards and discard it. Does it have anything on the other side? No, it's just a generic time card. Okay, That goes into the discard pile. Then turn the chosen story card over and read it aloud. At the bottom of most cards, you will have to decide how you want to change the event. Before making your decision, continue reading page 6 of the rules cards. Okay, so now we get to read the full rules. After reading the story card carefully, discuss which of the options you wish to choose. Take time to develop and discuss different theories. To gain additional clues, discard one investigation card to the box. You can do this up to 4 times, but only once per turn. If you discard an investigation card, you gain a clue about the detail in bold print on the story card. Do so by turning over the clue card that belongs to the story card. You may choose a clue for either your current story card or one from an earlier turn. Okay, so we'll be jumping around reading story cards. We've got 4 investigation cards. So at 4 different points throughout the game, we can spend one of these to read the clue under a story we've just turned over or previously have turned over. I notice looking at the board now that these are all time stamped. It looks like they go in order. Let's just take a look at this because this is pretty cool. We've got 50 million years ago in an unknown dimension. And the clue says entity. And then we've got 31 years ago, a cemetery in a swamp, 1892. And then 30 years ago, 9 years ago, 4 years ago, 1 year ago, 1 month, 1 day, 35 minutes, 38 seconds, 12 hours later. And I guess this is the now. Circumstances of death. This is when they died. Okay. Well, this is pretty cool. I've not seen something like this before. And each of the clue cards has a little term on it to, I guess, give you some idea of what it's going to give you more information about. So the one we turned over said wire. So that's when we got more information about the wire. Well, I'm very much appreciating this so far. So the clock cards are all generic. These, I guess, are all generic too. Nothing to read here. But what's going on here with this deck? We don't know yet. Okay. After picking an option, I guess most of these story cards are going to give us options. Search for the corresponding fate card. That's this big deck here. Turn it over, put it above your current story card. For example, if you choose option B for story card 4, find fate card 4B, turn it over, place it above story card, whatever it is. Okay. You'll gain points if you change the story for the better. If you made things worse, you'll lose points. If you revealed a 0, you haven't made any change in the run of events that sealed the fate of the deceased. Discard the remaining 2 fate cards associated with this story. Okay, so why would there be 2 remaining? I guess A, B, C. Back to the box without looking at them, they will not be used. Okay, that's pretty cool. But I am going to move this off to this side because we don't need this above card 12. Okay, so far, this is a pretty cool mechanical system, I think. All right, so it's the next player's turn. Decide which timeline you want to go to. When you've used up all of your time cards, take the solution cards, read the end of the story. Were you able to gather enough points? Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's only 8 time cards. So of the 12 remaining story things, we're only going to be able to see 8 of them. Is that right? What was this crazy thing? Oh, that's just the back. So we're not going to be able to see all the story. We only see 8 of the 13 remaining stories, and only 4 of the remaining 12 clues. 8 of the remaining 12 stories, 4 of the remaining 12 clues. Important. The changes you have made will all occur simultaneously after you have finished your travels. Therefore, your decisions do not have any direct influence on the cards. You are now on your own. Can you undo fate and prevent the tragic death of the deceased? Good luck. Okay, so basically what it's saying is, once we change some piece of history, we shouldn't expect to see further changes in the future. We're just doing like the planning stage, and then it's all going to trigger at once. All right, so we have to solve this, save this, guys. Don't you get the time cards back? You think you get the time cards back? Surely not. No, we must discard one time card back to the box. Unless the rules bring them back. You're thinking that we must be able to see more of the story? You think we should be able to see all of these eventually? Nine time cards. Well, not unless some of them come back. All right. So we're trying to, this is the guy's death. All right. How did he die? He went crazy. To protect his sanity, his heart stopped. So we're going to have to try to stop his heart from stopping, which means we have to stop him from going insane. The voice coming back is telling us, get out, push back the grave slab and run. Push back the grave slab, maybe like cover up the crypt and run. Got a backpack, a spade, and a portable telephone. All right. And I guess after we turn it over and read it, we can put it back here in our collection. Maybe I'll just shift everything over so that everyone can see everything, even with my overlay there. Okay. All right. Why don't we take our break here? Remember that this is a one-time playthrough. Well, maybe not a one-time playthrough. You could replay this, I guess, if you didn't succeed, but a lot is going to be given away during our playthrough. So if you think you might want to play this game yourself, you could stop watching here, come back, watch this video after you finish playing your own copy. But if you are going to stay and join me, I'll see you in 8 minutes. Okay, time to get started with this case. As I said in the chat, don't expect me to do a poll every time there's a decision to be made. You just shout out if there's someplace you want to go. From a narrative standpoint, I am really interested in going back to the very beginning, 50 million years ago in an unknown dimension. That's the entity. So this could be the entity of this creature that's underground. this cemetery in a swamp seems like it might be the start of this. There's a cemetery in a swamp here in 31 years ago, and then the cemetery in the swamp, cemetery in the swamp, cemetery in the swamp. So we are at the cemetery in the swamp. So as far as the scene of the death, it's these 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. And I'm most interested in this place. But the other thing you could say is this guy's got a partner named Harley. I wonder if we can talk to Harley. I don't see Harley in any of the clues, but I do see an equipment clue. Like if we could get some... We don't really have a strategy to stop him from going crazy, but it seems like the entity down there is key. So I think I want to start here. I'm going to start here. So I'm choosing to go here 50 million years ago in an unknown dimension. All right, so I have to throw away a time card for that. Maybe we'll keep these so we can see them, that we only have 9 of them. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of deduction and a little bit of story. I want to see how this creature entity starts. 50 million years ago in an unknown dimension. As if in a dream, a gigantic library appears before you. Between the infinitely high shelves, bizarre entities scurry about, hoarding the knowledge of countless worlds and times. One of the entities sits at a kind of writing desk with a red book lying open in front of it. It fills the pages with inhuman speed using characters you've never seen before. Startled, you realize this entity is looking in your direction. You hear a voice inside your head. You already know this book. All the same, do you want to have it? Quickly, you decide to A, leave this time immediately without changing anything, B, try wrestling the book away from the entity, or C, try talking to the entity. This is so creepy. All right, so it's an entity writing in a red book, filling the pages with inhuman speed using characters you have never seen before. So I'm not sure how the book is going to help us. You already know this book. All the same, do you want to have it? It's giving us a book. Now I can see there's another problem here. Like, it's important what order we go because we have to now make this decision with no knowledge, whereas maybe we'd get some knowledge about what choice we should make. So we shouldn't just go where there's fun information. I can see maybe you might have to play through this many times. Okay, Perry says talk to the guy. Jonathan says talk to the guy. Joseph says wrestle the book away. Here's how we're going to do this game. We're going to let different audience members have their way. Now, I need a rule clarification. Are we allowed to look at the clue before we make this decision? Does anyone remember what the rule was on that? You discuss where you want to go. You discard a time, you travel there, you read the story. You have to decide how to change the event before making your decision. Okay, let's see. After reading the story card, discuss which option. To gain additional clues, discard one investigation card. You can do this 4 times, only once per turn. You gain a clue. It doesn't say whether we have to make a decision before or after we get a clue. I guess if I had to choose, I would say we would be allowed to look at a clue first. So we could make choice A1, A2, or 1A, 1B, or 1C. Or I think we're allowed to pay to see this clue before we make that choice. It's not clear whether we could do that before, but I'm going to say we are. So, but what I was saying for strategy is like we're gonna let people, if I let someone choose where to go, they may be able to make the choice. I chose to go here, so I feel like I should get to choose. But wrestling the book away. I mean, he's asking us if we want it. Why do we have to wrestle it away? I guess if I have to choose, I'm going to talk to him. Joseph Mayu says, my guess is that these are Yithians. All right, well, can you give us a little more information? Like, what does the Yithian do, assuming it is a Yithian? Does that help inform us? He's writing it. We can't understand it. I feel like the best we can do is talk to him. So I'm going to choose 1C. And I'm going to choose not to spend our precious investigations to read about this entity. He looks like he might just be a librarian. All right, so 1C. So I'm going to go here, and I've chosen to do item C. Now, remember the game said this is either going to be a positive, a negative, or a 0. 0. So we didn't change things for the better or the worse. The entities like you are masters of time travel. Your conversation with them is of no relevance to your case, but they show you a shortcut through time. Retrieve 1 time card back from the box. Okay, that was what Jonathan was saying, that he thought we were going to get more time. All right, so it's neither good nor bad, but it gave us an extra time. That's good. Okay, then that's discarded. All right. Where do you want to go next? If we go to the future, maybe they would learn more about what they discovered down there. I'm most interested in the distant past. A cemetery in a swamp, a cellar, private home, cemetery, equipment. You'd have to go, you can't get a clue unless you go to the place. All right, who has a strong feeling of where they want to go? Just jump out and say where you want to go. Joseph says DJ mentioned the library. Okay, we have 1 entry for a library. Is that where you want to go first? All right, let's go to the library. Didn't our guy die because Harvey was killed down below? Yes. Something like that. I don't know how that helps us, though. All right. There is no clue for Harley. There's no place for Harley. We might imagine that Harley had this private home, or worked in the church, or worked in the cellar, or worked in this house. All right, 2 votes for library, so we're going to go to the library. Now, this time stamp is 4 years ago. The Library of Arkham, 4 years ago. Seems like going to the library is a smart use of our time. Maybe we'll learn something. 4 years ago, the Library of Arkham, Massachusetts, May 2nd, 1919, 3:12 a.m. This is incredible, the young man in glasses whispers to his companion. If even half of these texts are true, this could be something absolutely incredible. He grins conspiratorially, then secretly thinks to himself, I really need to find out what this ancient something buried deep in the earth is. Greedily, he shoves several books of apparent Asian origin under his jacket. Let's go, before the night watchman wakes up again. You ensure that the ancient something is A, an unblemished vessel of immortality, B, an everlasting candle of invocation, C, a moldy book of invisibility. What do you mean you ensure that the ancient something? So this could be Harley that's talking to us. We're recreating this guy's life. What do you mean? What does it mean you ensure? Oh, I see. Hold on. We can change things. So he shoves several books of apparent Asian origin under his jacket. So we can change the books. We can change the books he's taking. We can change the books he's taking. Feels like that would change everything, but I'm going to find out what this ancient something is. The ancient something that this guy's digging for. Okay, come on, let's figure this out. If we change what he thinks he's digging for, these two people, how could we have him have a better outcome? If he finds a book of moldy invisibility, maybe that would let him escape. If he finds an immortality, then he won't be dead, right? You fool, Harley is dead. So maybe if we change this ancient something under the earth to be immortality, then he won't die. But I can't tell. When it says Harley is dead, it sounds like that's Harley talking, so it could be like his undead version. But I feel like if we give him invisibility, he might be able to escape from whatever creature is down there. All right, let's try that then. We're going to try to make the thing that's down in this tomb a book of invisibility so that he can use it to escape from the creature that's down there. Although I don't understand how we can change what it is. I thought we could change what book he thinks he's looking for, but all right. So we're going to do C. Now, before we do, however, we could spend one of our 4 precious clues to read this. But it doesn't seem like we want that. We have a plan. All right. Now, did I forget to spend a time? Yes. I should have spent a time when we did that. Okay. And then there was one here that we spent but got back. All right, I'll just do it that way. All right, so we're going to do 5C. C, and then I suppose we were told earlier we should get rid of the ones we didn't use. Same for card 1. We didn't do 1A and 1B. Okay, 5C. Let's see what we've got here. Aha! +1. So it does feel like we may have helped him to escape. There aren't enough cards, are there, for it to weave a story with this? I wonder if we'll just be using our own imagination to see how this helped us. But okay. we did improve things for the better. All right. Are we supposed to put that up there above it? Is that what it said? And then this was here. Okay, where to next? Where was the big mistake? Wasn't the big mistake you put the 1 card over the 12? Yes, thank you. This one didn't have a decision, so there's nothing over it. I see. That's why they were saying put these over this card, because there's no card over that. I like this mechanically. Okay, so look. If the decision that was a mistake was him going down in there, I wonder if we shouldn't try to stop him from going down. This looks like it might be a decision about what equipment to take down there. But maybe we need to know what kind of creature is down there that he should protect himself against. So I think it would be useful for us to look at the places where that cemetery in the swamp is. So the 31-year-old cemetery in the swamp, and maybe the cellar. But here, like if we can figure out what kind of creature's there, then we can maybe prepare this guy better for going down in there. And furthermore, let me suggest, like, look, this is 35 minutes, 38 seconds, and the time of death. Like, we shouldn't go here until we're really ready to make him do something differently. So I feel like these should be near the last things we do to change what he does. The further back we go, it feels like maybe the more will gather information that we can use here. Although I guess if you found out some information, you could stop it early on. Marcos says card 3 with fears might be a good card to use the clues on. All right, I'm going to choose again to go to the cemetery. You guys can shout out. Oh, Joseph says he wants to go to the cellar. Let me go here, and then I'll do what Joseph wants to do next. Okay, here we are, 31 years ago, cemetery in a swamp, February 10th. You can see I like the origin stories. Let's see what we hear. A hooded man with a bundle on his back and a spade in his hand wanders wearily through the fog-shrouded swamp. The past hours weigh heavily on his shoulders. Only his promise to his child's mother keeps him going. He tries to keep his senses together and to remember his grandfather's stories about this ancient swamp. He prays to God to show him the right way. You ensure the man does not find what he's looking for, takes the bundle into the woods instead. B, makes a map of the swamp and resolves to add it to his last will and testament. C, returns to his child's mother and proposes marriage. Well, I know which one appeals to me. So we keep seeing these icons. Are we supposed to be able to use these for some logical way? One is talking, and it's hard to know. So remember, this is 31 years ago. I wonder if this guy isn't going to be the corpse that's found. So I'm very tempted to have this guy who's investigating the swamp, to have him make a map and leave it for us. We could be a descendant of this guy. All right, so I'm inclined to do C. I'm sorry, B, the map. All right, so we're going to do map. So we're going to choose map. Now, he's got a bundle on his back. We could use the clue to find out about the bundle, but I don't see how that helps us. Takes the bundle into the woods instead. So whatever he's carrying in his bundle might give us some clues, I wonder. It sounds like he's trying to, like, make his, maybe save his dying son by digging up some immortality thing. If he doesn't find it, that doesn't help us, but a map might. What's going to be in his bundle, though? Is he burying the item or trying to dig it up? That's the question. I mean, we found this crypt, so I don't know if we really need a map. Maybe a map's not going to help us because we have found the crypt. Is the child in the bundle interesting? I'd like to know the grandfather's stories about the ancient swamp. I feel like we found the crypt, so having the map is really not useful for us, but maybe it helps us get out. I don't know. I'm wary to use a clue just out of curiosity. Surely not C. All right, let's take a map. A map is always a useful thing. Let's try B. 2B. Now, logically, I'm afraid that this is like, gives us the map to our death, but let's see. Yep. It logically makes sense. Like, we found this bad area, and we've made him make a map to make it easier for us to find it. All right. That's pretty cool, though. Okay. We built the map to our doom and ensured that we get it. All right. Well, so I wonder if the picture is not forming that this underground tomb is a way to live forever. And maybe this guy in our original story who went down there for eternal life, he says he's dead, but the voice is... The heavy slab they pushed aside says close it. All right, where does the group want to go next after that tragic error? How are we going to stop this guy? What about going to the police station to find out what happened? Okay. Joseph wants to know about the corpse, and Perry wants to go in the cellar. They're both here. Okay, let's go. I haven't been paying for things. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, but 1 was free. So there's our 4. Okay, I'm going to spend another time to go to the cellar. 1 year ago, a cellar in Arkham, Massachusetts, just before midnight. June 7, 1922, just before midnight. If eternal death is possible, eternal life must be as well, he tells me in his typical soft voice. His inhuman expression makes me shudder as I watch him place the scalpel on the skull of the corpse in front of him. My horror wants him to stop, but my fascination compels me to continue watching. Suddenly, what appears to be a swirling light issues from the corpse's skull towards the ceiling. Now, the person who's watching, which is probably our main character whose death we want to avert, we can extinguish the candles so that we can see the light better, maybe. Yank the man away from the body, or try to catch the swirling light in his hands. So do we want to use our first clue and learn more about the corpse? Joseph Mayu certainly wants it. Is it just a dead corpse that they're exploring? The light is going towards the ceiling. It's not going towards us. Why should we have to yank away from the body? So we don't see it? Joseph says, I want to know if it's his father. I can't do it. I can't use one of our 4 clues on the corpse. There are too many other clues that seem so critical. The grave slab, the equipment, some powder. So I don't think I can let us use this corpse. Boy, you guys want to yank him away, huh? I just don't see how that helps us. Swirling light comes out of the corpse toward the ceiling. Although, if you think that the Harvey down below had this thing get into his brain, get into him, maybe yanking him away will save that spirit from getting into him. Or the candles are from a ritual. If we put out the candles, the ritual ends. That's very intriguing. Let me remind you, we are allowed to use a clue on places we've already been. So we could look at the entity, we could look at books, or the corpse. I'm inclined to want to put out the candles. Let's just think, how are we going to make it worse for us? Surely putting out the candles can't make it worse. Although maybe we'll miss seeing something. Catching the light is a bad idea. Seems like it is to me, too. Let's try extinguishing the candles, A. So this is 6A. I don't really have a real basis for choosing this, but let's see. We're going to extinguish the surrounding candles. Nothing happened. Guess that was the wrong thing to do. I don't think we're doing very well in this game. All right. We're at a net 0. So my logic is that we're gonna change what happens right before the death to fix it. So we should save these for later. I think we should do this one. We could see what they've discovered afterwards. It's a cool idea too that we can go to the place after the murder. So let's see. Police station 12 hours after his death. Please calm down, ma'am, says the policeman as he rolls his eyes. Your son was probably at a party and will be waking up next to a pretty blonde about now. The elderly woman shakes her head. Randolph doesn't care for parties. If only he'd never met Warren. He's changed so much since he met him. He was going to fix something at my house today, but he didn't show up. Something must have happened to him. Thoughtfully, the police officer answers, Warren, that arrogant lunatic? I saw him near the church this morning. You ensure the police officer A goes to question the lunatic Harley. Okay, so Warren Harley is this woman's son. He was supposed to fix something at her house. He didn't show up. Warren Harley. So Warren Harley is the person that went downstairs, down to the crypt, and died. The person upstairs is saying, I can't leave you, Harley. Harley is dead. The man begins laughing hysterically. To protect his sanity, his heart stops. So now we're learning about Warren Harley, the guy that went down into the crypt. I saw him near the church this morning. Well, that's a problem for us. I mean, that's interesting because, look, the death happened at 2:47 a.m. Here it is 12 hours later at 2 p.m. This guy says, I saw him this morning. So Harley has emerged from the crypt and come out at like 5 or 6 a.m. and is walking around. So we don't want to find this guy because we think this is a creature in his body, I think. I guess this woman's son is Randolph. That's us. That's the guy we're trying to save. But she's saying, I wish she'd never met Warren Harley, the guy who's down in the basement. Okay, so everyone's agreed we should talk to Armitage. Surely that's the right thing to do. But look, should we use our clue to learn about Warren? He's a lunatic. Maybe there's nothing to be learned from him. Okay, so we are going to choose here to talk to Armitage, get some good advice. 13B. This is surely going to be a +1. I don't see how it could not be. Okay, 13B and A and C get thrown away. Okay, surely we're going to get a +1 here. What? If there actually are evil forces at work, Henry is the only one who might be able to save humanity. However, nothing can be done to change the tragic death here. Maybe that's a good point. Like, I think the game is saying it doesn't matter what we do. We were always going to get a 0 because it's after the fact. I mean, it's possible that Armitage is in one of these homes. Let's remember, we can use the clues 1 per turn. We don't have that many turns left. We're going to have to start using our clues. Okay, so, but this is the part I want us to focus on. He was supposed to help her this morning, and then Warren, the lunatic, was at the church. So he was going to fix something at my house today. So Warren was at the church. And then this might be the old woman's home. If we could get him to stay at home, we could save this thing. Don't forget a time. Did I forget a time? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 1 was free. Okay, 5. Well, we only have 4 more places to go. Yikes. All right, and we're going to have to start using clues now. Well, it sounds like Warren, the lunatic, is the troublemaker, and he was seen at the church. So I think we should go to the church and try to stop Warren. But maybe we could start by finding Randolph, who was supposed to help his mother with something, and somehow convincing him to stay. Channel's making fun of me forgetting to do the time. I need a system. All right, so I think we should use the time to go to this home. Maybe we can give him sleeping powder to keep him from leaving his home. Let's see. I'm using a time to go. I'm hoping this is Randolph's home. This, dear Randolph, will make us immortal, the young man says to his companion momentously. Your father would be proud. They get to work packing several items scattered on the kitchen table into 2 backpacks. When finished, he asks, did we forget anything, Randolph? You ensure that Randolph answers, I would feel safer if we take along this wooden stake. Or, I would like to take along this 5-pointed amulet I got from my mother. Or, of course we will take the blue-gray powder. After all, we are going to a cemetery. All right, this is key. We are now figuring out what equipment he could take in. And now we see the 2 of them, what they're up to. They're trying to become immortal. Now, if we think vampires did it, we could tell them to take a stake. Amulet. So these are all things that he wasn't actually found with. So that's why we're changing history, to give him some extra stuff. I mean, this is a crypt. Is it a vampire in there? If it is, the wooden stake would be very helpful. Yes, we should use a clue. But what clue are we going to use? We can only use a clue of a place we've gone. So we could look at the corpse again. Maybe we'll find the corpse is got bite marks on the neck. That would be a clue to us. He's reading the books of Asian origin. Maybe a book will tell us a little bit about the immortality. We could look at the bundle that was maybe carrying the baby. Maybe it's got an amulet in it. Or a stake. But surely it's not a vampire, right? They're going to a cemetery. I don't feel like it's a vampire. We are going, he says, of course we'll take the blue-gray powder. After all, we are going to a cemetery. What do you think the blue-gray powder is that you would need at a cemetery? Okay, I think we should use the clue on the blue-gray powder since I'm very curious why this would help you at a cemetery. All right, so we're going to use a clue to look at the blue-gray powder. The blue-gray powder is made from the ground remains of a corpse. According to certain dark legends, one should be able to raise this corpse from the dead with the right words. So you bring the powder, which is the ground remains of a corpse, and then you can use the right words to wake up this powder. So I don't think we want to take this, right? So I think we should take the amulet that the mother has. Though maybe the mother has the amulet to control the child that got revived from the dead. Okay, let's try B. We're not allowed to take another clue even if we wanted to. All right, let's try B. I'm not sure exactly what the logic is, but clearly this goes in the family. So if anyone knows how to deal with the spirits that the ancestors raised to protect it, it seems like the mother would. All right, here we go. All right, good work, team. We got the amulet. We are now in the positives. All right, pretty cool. We got a chance. We got a chance here. Okay. Now, the lunatic's going into the basement, into the crypt. He's going to raise the dead. The phone tells us, quick, leave, close the thing. He says, quick, push back the grave slab. It's the grave slab that they pushed open, the two of them. So I think if anything can help us, it would be to make sure our guy, Randolph, can close up that tomb. But he says, I can't leave you. Are we down to 2? No, we have 3 time left. 3 places and 3 clues. 3 clues we can read. So we're all set. We're 3 and 3. Okay, but let's look at this. So look, there's 2 reasons this guy gets killed. First, he says, I can't leave you. And then he looks at the slab. Then the voice says, Harley's dead. And then his heart stops. So one way we could maybe keep this from happening is not bring the wire so he can't talk to this, but then he might go down there. But if we could give him the ability, maybe he looks at the slab and he realizes he can't close it. I can't leave you. If we could somehow convince him to leave Harley and close the slab, that would save him. So I'm inclined to want to deal with this and this, but this feels like we have to do this is the last thing we do, I think. So I feel like our last 2 things will be these 2. That would leave us with only one more thing before these 2. So we can go back a month. To Randolph's home. Now that we know this is Randolph's home, if we went back a month when they were hatching this plan and there's some symbols, could they figure out how dangerous it is to go down there? Raise Lazarus from the dead at the church. They must learn about how they can go in and become immortal. These seem like the key for us, but so is it these 3 things? Or would it be better to go to Randolph's home a month ago and somehow get him away from Warren Harley, the lunatic? I feel like this is Warren Harley, the lunatic. We're not going to be able to change anything he does. So I'm thinking it's these 3. Randolph at his home a month ago, then right before they go in. Maybe we can put some thoughts into Randolph that he shouldn't trust Harley or something. Although that could happen here. They could be together in this church, but I think this might be just where Harley lives. We could do something with his fears he won't die. Here's the problem, Jonathan. This is 30 years ago, and Randolph is only in his 20s. So Randolph isn't alive here. I don't know whose house this is. It looks like this is his parental home. So I suppose You could argue that we could get his parents, I guess his parents home. He's still alive 9 years ago. We could try to leave him a note from his parents about the danger here. That's intriguing. Could we have his parents teach him something? He would be a teenager back here. Let's try that. Shall we try that? Shall we go here and see if we can't put something, give him some message while he's a teenager? Here's the counter argument, though, is in his house a month ago, there are some symbols. Maybe we can help him translate the symbols and he'll realize how dangerous it is. I think these have to be our final two things, but I'm open to either of these two things. Either Randolph's house when he was a teenager or his current house where he's alive now. I think the church is tempting, but I think it's the lunatic's house. I don't think we're going to be able to stop his progress. So would you like to go to Randolph's house a month ago or Randolph's parents' house 9 years ago when he was a teenager and try to plant a seed of something? Joseph Mayu says a month ago. Jonathan, what say you? Anyone else who hasn't spoken up? Perry says a month ago. With the symbols. A month ago. Okay, here we go. Everyone wants a month ago. All right, a month ago, a private home in the morning. Ding dong. Something isn't right. Uneasy, the mailman takes a look at the package from India and waits. He's sweating, but he doesn't know why. Finally, a young man opens the door and gladly accepts the delivery. Apparently, he had been waiting for it for some time. With relief, the mailman bids goodbye while the young man opens the package and pulls out the red leather book. Within, shivering with anticipation, thrilled, he puts on his glasses and tries to decipher the ancient book's inscrutable symbols. His eyes light up. He smiles because his hopes will soon be replaced with certainty. Okay, so this is like the book that those creatures we met in the unknown dimension. And I think now those creatures in the unknown dimension, they were like time travelers. They were saying, you already have this book. And here we've gotten it. Okay, so we have a clue. We could look at the symbols. Maybe we would learn what they are. But it seems like this is our Randolph. Seems like we could just make him think that the book warns him of devilish entities. Maybe that would well, surely we only have 3 left. So I think we should see if we can't learn what the symbols really say. But I wonder if somehow eating it would give him the knowledge of it. Okay, let's use our clue. I'm going to use our clue to look at the clue about the symbols. The inscrutable symbols seem to be alien and unlike anything in this world. Nonetheless, the young man is able to decipher them and feels vindicated in his theory. Okay, that's a little weird, but So whatever this guy, which I think is Randolph, but actually this could be the crazy guy's house. So he thinks the symbols are telling him about immortality. So I think if we have him instead think they're legions of devilish things, that would scare him away from this, possibly. Marco says it's C for me to avoid the deciphering. He's all alone. It's gotta be A. Hey, look how cool this is. Like, it's not an A anymore. It's a crazy symbol, crazy symbol, crazy symbol. How cool is that? You want him to eat it? I think our best bet is A. I'm gonna have to go with A. So this is 7, huh? Look at how cool this is. Look at the 7 cards. Look how cool that is. All right. So if we want him to do, wait a second, do these match? This should be our A. I guess that is our A. Let me see if I can. There's a lot of green on this board. I'm not sure. Okay. So yes, that is our A if we want to do that. All 3 options could go either way. Marco says he's not scared for devilish things. I mean, surely it can't be the middle one, because that's just going to be like, he's going to be like, well, I guess I don't know the answer, so I'm going to go in anyway. If we have him rip out a page and eat it, I think the same thing. I think our only hope is that it scares away. I'm using my judgment. I'm going to go do this one. Here we go. What? It didn't discourage him. Well, boy, that's a shame. All right, I'm not doing too well for us in this game. Well, 2 more places to go. Surely, I think when we're done with this, maybe we'll play again. Eating a page mean he can't complete the chant. That's an interesting theory. Well, you should have said that ahead of time. You should have told me that ahead of time, that your theory was that this is a chant. But I don't think you're right, because this is a research book, not a chant book. It says he deciphered them and then he feels vindicated in his theory. And if we look at the book here, you already have this book. Yeah, I don't think it's a thing, but okay, anyway, doesn't matter, it's gone. All right, well, we've got 2 places left to go. I think it's got to be these 2. In fact, I don't see any way around it. So, which order do you want to do them in? Do you want to do 35 minutes ago and then 38 seconds, or 38 seconds and then 35 minutes? I think maybe we do this one first and look at this clue. And then when we do this one, we can... No, we should do this first to see what equipment we have. And then we can have him do something different with the grave slab, maybe. For the fun of it, let's go backwards. All right, 38 seconds ago, right before his death. Let's see what happened. Harley, oh my God, if you could see this, Carter, it's... Harley, what? What do you see? I can't tell you. Oh God, no one can experience this and live. If I'd only known... Hold on, I'm coming down. Carter, no. Carter, run, for the love of God, run. It's your only chance. Run and don't ask why. It's too late. It's too late. There's nothing you or anyone can do. You ensure that Randolph calmly descends into the open crypt, flees in horror, or tries to close the heavy stone grave slab over the entrance to the crypt in panic-stricken fear. Okay, so I think this is our time to use our second to last clue to learn about the grave slab. The grave slab is made of solid heavy stone. A protective rune of a 5-pointed star was inscribed into its bottom side, but now it's heavily scratched. Will this still be useful as a symbol of protection? So here's what I think we're going to get to do. I think we're going to pick C, and then I'm hoping that at this stage, we'll be able to give him the item that he can use to close the gravestone, but maybe he can't close it. I'm afraid he's not able to close it, though. How are we going to... The two of them shifted it. It's heavy. I don't know if he can actually close it. Maybe if we're just worried about... Maybe we can give him a pry bar. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, this seems like the key. I just wish I knew whether he could close it. Seems like if we want to avoid his immediate death, we should just flee in horror. Although... Huh. Well, this seems like a key decision here. In one sense, I think the game has given us enough hints that he can't close it. So this may have been a poor choice. Maybe I should have gone here first. Then if he has a pry bar, we'd know to try this. But without it, we'd know not to try this. All right, what do you think? Should we try C? We may be playing this whole game over again very soon. All right, it sounds like the group wants to try C and then try to give him what he needs to do it. So this is 11C. We get this wrong, it's all over for us. All right, here we go. Nope. Choose one of the following symbols. For each additional insanity result you receive up to the 3, you must choose a different symbol. When the game ends, negative points from answers with the chosen symbols are doubled. Choose one of the following symbols. I don't really understand this. Negative points. All right, well, we have one negative point only. It's right here, and it's with the skull. So I guess we're not going to choose the skull. But I don't know what else, how else that's relevant for us. Jonathan says, I think it's saying there are multiple where we pick, and we can't pick the same twice. Oh, I see. There could be multiple insanity cards we have to do differently. All right, that's fine. So we're not going to choose the skull. We'll choose the spider. I guess we have to choose now? I don't know. But we're not going to win this game. Okay, so there's only one thing to do. We have one time left and one clue left. So we're going to try to fix things right here. "35 minutes ago." All right. The deceased is standing in a weathered cemetery, accompanied by a man with glasses. The pallid crescent moon provides a sallow, sickly light. Surrounding gravestones are covered with moss. Stairs lead down into a dark, open crypt, from which an awful stench wafts upward. "Who's going down?" the deceased asks fearfully. While looking into the deep, his partner deliberates and takes a look at their equipment. You ensure that A, the deceased accompanies his companion into the crypt to make sure he doesn't keep everything for himself. B, the man with the glasses decides. He says, you go, take the revolver, I'll make sure nobody follows you. Or the man takes advantage of the deceased's hesitation, grabs the book, and descends the stairs into the crypt by himself. Well, that's what happened in real life, it seems. So that's surely not what we want to do. Should we both go down because we have the amulet? Or should we go down? I guess. Well, let's look at this hint because I don't know what else we would do. In addition to a red book, some provisions, a rope, and 2 spades, the revolver is quite conspicuous. Can it be of any use in an open grave? Yeah, it could be of use for us to kill the other guy. All right, I think we both go with the amulet and the revolver. And here, wait, B is you take the revolver. So maybe we need to pick B so we have the gun. And we'll live forever? I mean, going together, how does that help us? At least if we go down, we're in control. So I guess I would pick B. Why take this other guy with us? How does that help us? Why bring this other guy down? He's a lunatic. He's got bad judgment. Better for us to go down. I say B. How is bringing this guy down with us going to help us? It's not. He's crazy. Let's go by ourselves. At least we can make some good judgment. All right, well, I've gotten us into a lot of trouble with this game. I'm going to continue. And I'm going to make the judgment call to say B. Let's see what happens. So we chose to have the lunatic decide. It sounds a little scary, but he says, you go, take the revolver. I'll make sure no one follows you. Oh, -2, and it's the spider. Choose one of the following 3 symbols. For each additional insanity you must choose a different symbol. All right. Well, we're dead. Going down alone, we went crazy. Maybe we should have thought of that. Being alone, it was too scary. Okay. All right, so I guess this time we choose the eyeball, but -2 spider. We already chose spider here, so that's going to become a -4. All right, well, this did not work out so well for us. I guess we turn to the end here. End of the story. Let's see how this works. All right, should we take a break first? Let's have a break. But we're in the negatives here for sure. Interesting. All right, we'll take an 8-minute break. We'll come back and we will read the ending to our story and see how it goes. I'll see you in 8 minutes. Sarah. Okay, we're back. Well, let's see how the game ends. I'm very curious. I do have some thoughts on this. Let's end the game and then we'll decide, we'll talk about it and then decide what we want to do. If we just want to look at cards or do some little replay. Okay. The changes you have made to the past take effect simultaneously after your last time travel. You hope you're able to prevent the tragic death you were trying to undo. After using all of your time cards, add up the points of the fate cards you reveal. Then look on the back of this card to reveal how well you have changed the threads of fate. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. So, +1, +1, +1. So we have +2. And then we chose to negate our spiders and our eyes. So we chose this before we saw it. So this becomes a -4. And this is a -1. So we have +2, -5. So we have a -3 is our score. Somehow I think that's not going to be a good score. All right, look on the back of this card to see how well you have changed the fates. Less than 0. Oh no, you made things worse and the tragic death even more likely. All right, so we would have had to get 4 points to save this guy. All right, now let's see how this game ends. Do you want to know the original story? Continue reading on the next card, sides S4 to S7. If you weren't able to prevent the tragic death and want to try again, you must only resort the cards in ascending order as listed on R2. We recommend you don't start your next try right away. Instead, let some time pass to give fate and your memory a break to make it a little more challenging. Okay, so then the rest of it is just the story. And then some adverts. So we've got 3 cards that are stories. I mean, just the ending story and then advert. Okay, so there's our authors and our illustrations. Okay. Let's talk about it and then decide if we want to reset and do again. I would be inclined to just explore the cards we haven't seen and maybe make alternate choices on the negatives and see if we see how we can't get our score up unofficially. So not officially replay it, but that's it. There's no different endings. You just get your score and then you read the story. So there's no alternate endings. All right. So why don't we talk about it first for a little bit, and then we'll explore and see how we could have gotten a better score here. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts here. I have a couple thoughts. First of all, I mean, I really do love being in this Lovecraftian world of insanity and danger. And I love the illustrations, and I thought all the writing was fun. And the mechanical choices of deciding which places to go and which clues to read, those were fun. I think the main problem here, I would say, is that it doesn't feel like it's like a choose your own adventure problem. It's hard to really make the case that there's a way to be smart and win. It feels more like mostly a matter of getting lucky and winning. But I will say this, and that's a real negative in terms of being a deduction game. I don't feel like it's a deduction game. But I will say that the the mechanical premise of this compared to the typical escape room card game where we're solving a mystery, the premise here that these are events back in time, and just the idea that we've got one card that's from 30 million years ago, one card that's the present of the death, and one card that's in the future, and just the idea, the gimmick that we're trying to fix this person's decision, trying to change the fate, to change the outcome, is very fun. I mean, it is a very fun way to hear about this story. I really enjoyed the idea that we were piecing together this story that goes back from 30 million years to the present. It is a story that makes sense. A little story about these people trying to descendant from this person who had found this crypt where there's a secret to immortality and death. And there's a real little story here. So it felt random, but it was a fun way to tell a fun story. Now, I'm not sure how much fun it would be in a non-Lovecraftian world. Like if it was just like the other Undo was a expedition, maybe it would be, but I do love this idea of trying to fix something in the past. A little bit reminiscent of Time Stories, right? Time Stories has a similar gimmick and also meant to replay stuff. Time Stories is much more structurally sophisticated and complicated. But this was a nice, breezy little story, and I like how everything is available at once. I like this double nature where you've got clues at locations and stories. That's actually pretty clever. So I guess it was quick, mechanically kind of fun. It's fun to turn over these cards and see if you've made things better or worse. A couple of the times we did correctly anticipate why to make certain choices. Like with the map, we picked the map sort of on gut, but we said, we could be making things a lot worse. We're making him a map to get here. So I think I like a lot of this. But it's got some major problems in terms of making it a deduction game. One is that it feels like these are mostly random outcomes. I think the other sort of, I don't know if problem is the right word, but the other thing is that we noticed is that if the enjoyment here is the story, which I think it is, the enjoyment is piecing together this story, it's a little unfortunate that there's no branching story here. That essentially the game is not like, well, you did this and that had this ripple effect, right? I mean, ideally, if you're dealing with a whole story that's about time travel and trying to change the future, you would like to have your actions actually have ripple effects on the story. And it seems like the approach they've taken is that is too hard to actually pull off, and I can see why. So basically, you change these things, and then you have to make up your own story in your mind for why you averted the death. There is no actual changed story. There's no outcome that differs. And I'll tell you what, from a game design perspective, let me make a pitch for an alternate form of this game. Okay, here would be the pitch if someone came to me with this game as it is now. I would say this. I would say you've got a very fun way to tell a story. The basic mechanics of choosing where to go and choosing 3 actions at each location and having these clues you can go to and these cards so you can only go to 8 of the 13 places and 4 of the clues. All of that works. It works because it's a fun way to just get snippets of the story at random times and try to put it together. And then I would say this. I would say, as it is, it's not really replayable in any meaningful way. It feels like we know where we got our positive points, and we're just trying to get 4. So I would say this. Make it a game, modify it a little bit so that lean into the story part and say the goal is not to satisfy this. 2 points you prevented his death. So we did 2 changes here and here that got us 2 points. So if we had got zeros here, we would have won. I would say, do away with this. Instead, make it so the players must do everything correctly. Like there is a perfect solution that must be performed to solve it. In other words, it's not just that doing this gives it a +1 and increases the likelihood that you've averted death. No. Make it so that the way you have to solve something from happening is you have to do these 4 things right. And when you do those 4 things exactly right, you get a different story outcome. So I would have like 2 outcomes and make it so that, try to make it enjoyable to replay it until you figure out the exact chain of dominoes that you have to do to put all the pieces together to get the right ending, and then have a story read that. A story outcome based on doing all the right things. It's an idea. You'd have to figure out a way to make the game enjoyable to replay, though, and I don't think it quite is now. But maybe you make it so that, like, if we were going to do this again, which I think we will, we'll just go and, like, read these cards we haven't read and come back and change these things that got us negatives. But I think it would be fun to have it like a Rube Goldberg machine, have it be that so that when you do all the things, you get a different story. Or else figure out some way that, depending on the things you do, different things happen. Maybe that's a little closer to Time Stories. Any other thoughts from the channel before we explore some of these cards? I'm just going to walk through then and look at some of these cards. So we didn't go to these 2 houses 30 years ago and 9 years ago. And we did think, what if we went to the parents' house and sort of left him some information? Let's see what we've got here. Gasping, a man in his mid-30s enters his living room, cold sweat gathering on his forehead. Without a word, he drops a dirty spade and plops down into an armchair in his mud-smeared clothes. He's too horrified to cry. Remembering his weak heart, he tries to calm himself down. This is our father. After this day, he never utters a word again, neither to his wife nor to his son 2 years later. On his son's 5th birthday, he voluntarily commits himself to an asylum to deal with his fears. He dies shortly after. This is about like he tried to revive a dead baby and it turned into a monster. You ensure that his son inherits A, his fear of books, B, his bravery to dare the unthinkable, or C, his fear of the underground. I mean, fear of the underground, that's not going to stop him from staying upstairs while the other guy goes in. Bravery, that doesn't seem like it's going to stop him from doing this. But maybe if he fears books, he won't trust them to tell him how to be immortal. Jonathan has an interesting idea. Since you like play-by-mail games, could you make it an improv play-by-mail game? Boy, that's interesting. Boy, that's clever. That's pretty clever. That is pretty darn clever. So let me explain why Jonathan's idea is so clever. The problem with writing a game where you can go back in time and change events is that if you're the author of the game, you've got every permutation to worry about. Like, you've got to write every possible story. Well, what if they changed this thing 50 years ago? Everything in the world changes. I have to write every possibility. What Jonathan's pointing out is if you treated it like a role-playing game, in other words, if someone was writing the story, they only ever have to write one story. It's just that if the person says, I go back 50 years and kill this person, then that changes the state of the world that the writer now has to write about, but they're not writing every possibility ahead of time. That is a very clever idea. You could also use some AI like ChatGPT to do something like that. That is worth talking about more. That's very clever. That's very interesting. You could write a time travel story where you could go back in time and make dramatic changes. As long as you didn't have to write everything ahead of time, it wouldn't be more work. That's very interesting. Okay, help me decide what to do here. I would say A, give him fear of books, so he doesn't trust these books that seem to be saying how to bring people back to life. So 3A is a +1. Okay, so that did help. But I guess now that we're doing this, I'm going to look at what the alternates are. So there's a 0 and a -1. So if you said give him bravery, you make it worse. He would go down in the crypt. If you say he's got fear of the underground, nothing happens. That's logical. Okay. Now, 9 years ago at his parents' house, this is when he's still a teenager or so, the deceased sits thoughtfully at a desk in his parental home with the following notes in front of him. Studies for university. He can study Arabic. He can study English in Arkham. He can study German. Is this going to be a vampire? We don't know those symbols. This doesn't seem to be... Oh, we can get him out of here. go to Europe. Let's try C. Let's get him out of here. No. Sending him to study German didn't work. What was the right answer? Closer to mother? No. So going to study Arabic helps avoid this. Why is that? Someone explain? Why would this be? Any theories? Boy, that's awfully weird. But let's look at the clue for this location. There are many more dangerous places on Earth than Arkham. For a fatherless child, it's only logical to stay close to his mom. But that was the 0 points. I don't get it. That one I don't understand at all. Okay, well, only one more place we didn't go, the church where the crazy person hangs out. The bells, this is one day ago, the bells call and the faithful hasten to mass. At the gate, a young man places his hand on an elderly woman's shoulder. She turns around, strokes his cheek, and smiles fondly. I just wanted to see you. You've always taken good care of me. Oh, he says, with a tearful voice. What's the matter, my child? She asks worriedly. She takes a look at the closing church door and adds, Come, let's go inside now and you can tell me later. You ensure that A, he follows her into church and the priest gives a sermon on Lazarus, or he refuses and crosses the seminary to visit his father's final resting place, or he says, no need, we'll see each other tomorrow and I'll finally fix that light in your basement. We know that's what he did. Maybe one of the tricks of this game is not to figure out what he should do, but look for clues about what he did do and not do that. So, like, we know he promised C, so that can't be the right answer. Let's look about Lazarus as the person risen from the dead. So let's see. Jesus opened Lazarus' tomb and brought him back to life. So it doesn't seem like we want him to learn that. So maybe B? So I wonder if this is a case where C is what actually happened. So is that the case that on every card, one of them is what actually happened? That would change things a bit if we realized that was the mechanic. So we got this one right. So look, let me just show you a couple things. On 11, we chose, he tries to close the heavy stone slab in panic-stricken fear, and he flees in horror. In this case, we don't think any of those actually happened, right? We know he didn't descend. We know he didn't flee in horror. I want to see what we should have done there. We chose try to close it, and that was 0, but gave some insanity. So I'm curious what you think 11A and B. Surely A is going to get us killed, but maybe if he has the amulet, that's the thing to do. All right, let's see what happened if we did B. Oh, look at that. Run away. We should have run away. But we would have gotten some insanity. Huh. Interesting. Look at this interesting mechanic. So A would be a -1 if he went down. But look at this card. We didn't see this before. We haven't seen a card like this before. Look how interesting this is. It gives you +2 points, so you're more likely to succeed, but you're making one of your symbols worse. But we could have easily won the game if we drew that. Well, not easily won the game, but it's clear only one or two cards, if we flipped, would have solved us this game. If we took this -2, which turned into a -4, and we could turn this to a 2, we would have won the game, I think. Let's see what the right answer to this one would have been. So we chose B, to take the revolver and go in. And C seems like what happened, right? So C should be a 0. All right, so if we had gone in together, what would have happened? Oh, look at that. That's interesting. So look at the choices here. So that's another interesting thing. There was no way to get positive points here. You were either going to get a -1 and -2 or a 0. So you, in this case, you had to let things unfold exactly as they did for the best outcome. That's interesting. I mean, it's cute. It's hard to figure out how you could deductively make the right decision, but it's cool. It's kind of fun. It's like a little dynamical world here. Okay, so let me see. Maybe if let's look at some of these clues. If we went to the entities, I was right about the channel was right about what kind of creatures, but they were definitely time traveling creatures. The Red Book will be deciphered in 50 million years by Harley Warren, right? We got that. The bundle, this is going to be the dead baby, right? Yeah. If we go and look at the books, let's see if they're German. Not really useful. What about that corpse? That was a cool scene. Hundreds of years old, completely intact, no signs of decay. I see. So this is like the dead thing that's not dying. If we learned a little bit about Warren at the end, that's not very helpful. The story about Lazarus doesn't help us. So I was curious about this choice we made here. I tried to warn him about devilish things, and that got us a 0. The group wanted us to have him devour it. Which one is that? It looks like this is the devouring page. So if we had devoured that page, he would have gone a little crazy. So that was not a better outcome. What about the shifting shapes? I don't understand that. Why on earth? Why on earth? This is the part that I don't like about this game. Like, why on earth is this one the right answer? The symbols in the book shift and change before his eyes. How could that possibly be better than it warning him about devilish entities? Does anyone have some logic to that? You can't read it if it shifts. Yeah, I guess so, but doesn't it seem it would be better to have him read it and have it tell about a warning that this is not going to get you what you want? This doesn't seem to be a spell book. It's not an incantation here. This is, I guess. Okay, well, that's strange. I don't love that. The other place we got negative points was here. We chose to make a map, and we anticipated that might be the wrong thing. I think you have to expect that C is exactly what happened. So 2C should be a 0, right? I'm guessing 2C is a 0. Yeah. And then 2A is should be a little bit of a plus. No map written. No terrible event happened. He doesn't go silent, etc. Okay. Well, I think there's a lot that's fun about this. It suffers from the biggest problem that all of these choose your own adventure books suffer from, which is it feels like a lot of the decisions have random outcome. Let's take a look at what the solution is. So we've got a couple cards here. Okay, let's read this. What truly happened? The deceased name was Randolph Carter, and he grew up with his mother in Arkham, Massachusetts. His parents had another illegitimate child before he was born, but it died and was secretly buried in a remote cemetery. 1 year after the burial, the father found the grave empty and desecrated. Since that day, he never spoke with anyone again, not even his son Randolph. His father was admitted to an asylum, died there soon after Randolph turned 5. Randolph was a physically weak child with many fears. After school, Randolph decided to attend university and chose to study in Arkham so as to remain close to his mother. I see. That's why we wanted to break that chain by not choosing that. During his studies, he met Harley Warren, an eccentric man in his own age, who had discovered the fascination of forbidden books, who wanted to use the knowledge they hold to gain supernatural powers. One of the books spoke of an ancient something buried deep in the earth, which supposedly could bestow tremendous power. Okay, so that was that. Harley knew he would need help with his plan to find the ancient something. He made use of Randolph's latent fascination and weak will to turn him into an obedient accomplice. Harley believed that a deceased body does not decompose if its soul remains inside. That was verified when they cut open an undecayed body that was centuries old. The body turned to dust as its immortal soul exited the body. Harley then suggested there might be a way to preserve one's soul in a magical receptacle, thereby gain immortality. They were both captivated by this fascinating idea. Harley remembered reading a description of such a container in an ancient forbidden tome written by time-traveling entities 50 million years ago. Furthermore, Harley believed this ancient object was located in a crypt under the ancient cemetery in the nearby swamp. This undue case is based on the short story The Statement of Randolph Carter by H.P. Lovecraft. Here's a short synopsis of a key moment in the plot. The two men open an ancient crypt. The stairs leading to the depths. Harley descends on his own with a portable telephone connected by wire to a second phone that allows Randolph to hear not only what his friend discovers, but also Harley's growing madness evoked by the terrible things he sees there. Harley's words throw the waiting Randolph into sheer horror. In our Undo case, Randolph is then so overcome by his fears, his weak heart fails and he dies, thus he succumbs to the cemetery's horror just like his father. We leave it to your imagination why a police officer reports seeing Harley's body walking around Arkham the next day. If you're curious which decisions were especially important, you can read about it on the next page. We hope you enjoyed this jump into the past. You'll soon travel again and change another Undo fate for the better. Especially important decisions were 3A. If Randolph's fear of the underground had turned into a fear of books, he would have decided against studying. Therefore, he probably wouldn't have met Harley. 4A. While studying far away from Arkham, Randolph would not have come across Harley. Yet studying in Alsatia-Lorraine would have subjected him to the turmoil of the First World War. So that's the explanation for why he would have died if we sent him to Lorraine. 5C, a moldy book would most likely have dampened their curiosity. Symbols in the red book that shift and change before his eyes would have made them indecipherable, and therefore Harley would never have conceived of the idea to open the grave. I don't know if I love that answer. 11B, fleeing would have saved him from further horror and therefore spared his heart additional strain. So we should have just fled. All right, well, there you have it. I didn't hate it. I think I liked it more than you would guess, just because I like the jumping around in time to tell a story. I think that was fun. And trying to figure out the right thing to do was fun. And it was quick enough and breezy enough that I didn't mind that we failed. Still, if you could figure out a way mechanically, I think, and maybe Time Stories does this, I have to revisit Time Stories at some point. If you could do it mechanically, it would be more interesting to have you not know the ending. Like, what if the key point is this, like the game stops here 38 seconds before something terrible happens and you don't know what. And then you try to reconstruct it and try to make changes. Maybe you get to see everything and make decisions, but you don't find out whether those are good or bad decisions. And then when you get everything in place, you did A this, B this, C this. What about a card where you could take each card and rotate it? Or something. Each card you had an A, B, or C that you could choose. Maybe you just put the thing on it. So for each card, you choose whether you want to do choice A, B, or C. So your whole objective is to walk through these places, make your choices. Maybe you're allowed to go to every place, but you're only allowed to look at 4 or a few of these hints. So let them go to every place, but still have restrictions on the order, which really affects things, and how many hints. And then your job is to set all these dials, essentially, without knowing how they're actually going to interact. Maybe at the end, you're allowed to go back and make a couple extra jumps to change previous answers, right? Normally you have to set these all in the order you visit, but maybe in the end, you're allowed to say, okay, now that we see all this, we want to change this 3A to a 3C. You make all your changes, and then you read an ending depending on what you do. Now that part would be hard to pull off. Obviously, you can't have 13 to the 13 3 to the 13th power outcomes, but maybe you could have some formula where if you do enough of these things, you've averted this thing. But not bad. I would play again. Jonathan says most of the Undo games were based around grounded murders. In other words, not a supernatural thing. It might be interesting to try another one. Well, I have at least one more. I would be willing to play it at some point before I come to a final decision. But I didn't hate it. I thought it was kind of fun and fast, little way to tell a story. Doesn't scratch a real deductive itch, but anytime you can make these decisions close enough to feeling like you could get into it the right answer, it's enjoyable. All right, well, thanks everyone for joining me. Let's take a look. Where are our YouTube stats here? All right, this stream, we've got 12 concurrent viewers. We started out with almost 24. YouTube says 12 concurrent viewers, 6 likes. Hey, if you like the content on this channel, I would appreciate it if you'd give this video a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, maybe even becoming a Patreon supporter of this channel, help pay for these games. None of these are review copies. We buy these all ourselves, me and the Patreon supporters, and I do appreciate it. Either way, I love having the company here. You guys make it fun. All right, I will see all of you who want to join for Dear Holmes play-by-mail case on Sunday. For that, you have time to watch the first letter if you haven't seen it. Jonathan had a great idea of an improv play-by-mail case that involved time travel. That is a fascinating idea. Sort of solves the major problem. It is very intriguing. We've talked a little bit about some potential ideas for this kind of system. That was fun. Probably nothing tomorrow. I'll see you on Sunday. Thanks for joining me.